The tip arrived on a Monday, typed on plain paper, no signature. It had been slid under the principal's door over the weekend. 4 sentences. It said that the teacher in room 14 had a criminal record, that the school should look into it, that there were parents who would want to know. Dana Holt read it 3 times. Then she placed it face down on her desk, went to her first meeting of the week, and spent the rest of the morning thinking about it. By Thursday she had opened a file. By Friday she wasn't sure she should have. Elena Marsh had taught 8th grade English at Whitmore Middle School for 9 years. She was not the kind of teacher students forgot. Former students came back to visit. Parents requested her by name. Her classroom had the highest reading scores in the district 3 years running, which she credited entirely to a unit on crime fiction she refused to remove from the curriculum no matter what the district suggested. She was 41. She lived alone in a house she was slowly renovating. She brought homemade food to the faculty lounge on Fridays, and she remembered the names of siblings, pets, and difficult situations that teachers with smaller hearts would have let go after the school year ended. Dana Holt had worked alongside Elena for 6 of those 9 years. She trusted her. She also had a responsibility that did not pause for trust. She requested the background check on Tuesday. It came back clean. She ran it through the state registry as well. Still clean. Then she called a contact at the county court clerk's office, a woman named Patricia she had known for 20 years, and asked her to check for anything that might not appear on a standard employment screen. Patricia called back on Friday morning. There was a record from 2017. An arrest, charges filed, harboring a minor, obstruction of a child welfare investigation. The charges had been dropped 8 months later. The record still existed. Dana sat with that for a long time. She was not thinking about whether to proceed. She was thinking about who else already knew. She did not approach Elena. Not yet. Policy said you did not confront the subject of an investigation before you understood what you were looking at. She requested the full case record through the clerk's office and spent the following week reading what was available. The name attached to the original missing persons report was Jade Mercer. 16 years old. Reported missing on a Sunday in October 2017 by her stepfather, Kevin Mercer. The case had remained open for 14 months before being administratively suspended. No confirmed sightings, no body, no resolution. There had been a welfare investigation 2 months before Jade disappeared. A school counselor at a different school, the high school across town, had filed a report citing concerns. The investigation found no evidence of abuse. The case was closed. Dana read through what she could access and then stopped, because what she was reading was starting to form a shape she recognized, and she didn't want to name it before she had more. She called Elena into her office on Monday afternoon. She said there had been an anonymous complaint and that she was obligated to look into it. She did not specify the nature of the complaint. She asked if there was anything in Elena's background she should know about. Elena was quiet for a moment. Not the quiet of someone caught off guard. The quiet of someone who had expected this day to eventually arrive and had long ago decided how to respond when it did. She said, "There was an arrest in 2017. The charges were dropped." She would not discuss the details without an attorney. Dana said she understood. She went back to Patricia and asked if Kevin Mercer had any recent filings in the county system. He did. A civil harassment restraining order, filed 14 months ago. Not by him, against him. Filed by an adult woman. The petitioner's name was visible in the court index, Jade Mercer. 23 years old. She was alive. She had been alive the entire time. Dana drove home that night and cooked dinner and did not eat it. She kept thinking about a welfare investigation that found nothing. She kept thinking about a 16-year-old who had been reported missing by the same man she had recently taken a restraining order against. She kept thinking about Elena in the office chair, hands folded, completely still. On Wednesday, the school's front office received a phone call. The receptionist noted it in the log as a personal call for a staff member, wrote down the time and the caller's name, and transferred it. The name in the log was Jade Mercer. Dana saw the log entry that afternoon. She went to Elena's classroom at the end of the school day. The students had gone. Elena was at the back of the room stacking papers. Dana closed the door and said, "A woman named Jade Mercer called the school for you today." Elena stopped. Dana said, "I'm not here officially. I just want to understand what happened." Elena took a long time. Then she sat down in one of the student chairs, the small plastic ones, too low for an adult, and she told her. Jade had come to her in September of that school year, not to report anything formally. She came the way students sometimes do. With a bruise, she had a reasonable explanation for an eyes that communicated the explanation wasn't the point. Elena had been watching Jade for months. She had asked carefully, more than once. Jade had said nothing was wrong. That September afternoon, after the final bell, Jade stayed behind and said, "If I tell you something, what happens?" Elena told her the truth. She said, "If you tell me you're being hurt at home, I am required by law to report it." She also said, "If you're not ready for that, I'll stay here with you until you are." What Jade told her over the next 2 hours was enough. Elena knew it was enough. She also knew what had happened with the previous welfare investigation. Jade had described it. The caseworker arriving at the house, Kevin Mercer standing in the doorway the whole time, Jade saying everything was fine because she believed, correctly, that saying otherwise would make things worse afterward. Kevin Mercer had been a police officer for 11 years. Elena made a decision. She called a domestic violence shelter 2 counties away. She arranged for Jade to go there after school on the following Friday. She withdrew $200 from her own savings and gave it to Jade in a plain envelope. She told no one at the school. She did not file a report. She knew exactly what she was doing. She also knew what Jade was returning to if she didn't act. Jade left on a Friday afternoon and did not come back. Kevin Mercer reported her missing on Sunday. Elena was questioned within the week. She said she didn't know where Jade had gone, which was not entirely a lie, because she knew where Jade had been on Friday evening but had been careful not to know anything beyond that. The charges came in December. The district placed Elena on administrative leave. She hired a lawyer with money she didn't have and said almost nothing publicly. 8 months later, the charges were dropped. The prosecution could not establish that Elena had arranged Jade's departure. There were no messages. Elena had used a borrowed phone and asked Jade to delete everything. There was no direct financial record connecting the cash to Jade. Elena came back to the school the following fall. The district made no public statement. Most of her colleagues assumed the whole thing had been a misunderstanding. A few treated her differently afterward. She did not explain anything to either group. Kevin Mercer left the police force in 2019. The departure was described as voluntary. He moved to a logistics company in a neighboring county, and for several years he searched for Jade through the channels available to a private citizen, which were limited. Then, 14 months ago, she filed the restraining order. Her name and county of residence appeared in a public court index. He found it. He could not reach her directly. The restraining order made certain of that. So he reached for the next closest thing. Dana did not take notes while Elena talked. When Elena finished, Dana asked one question. "Did you know he would eventually find you?" Elena said, "I thought he might. I thought it would take longer." Dana asked, "What did you think would happen when he did?" Elena said, "I thought he'd try to use what I did. I just didn't know how." Dana went to the county prosecutor's office the following morning. She described the situation without providing names and asked what a referral would require for a case involving harassment tied to an active restraining order. The intake coordinator told her. She submitted the referral that afternoon. She also closed the investigation file. She wrote one sentence in the internal record, "Complaint reviewed. No evidence of conduct warranting disciplinary action. File closed." Then she sat in her office for a while, looking at the anonymous tip on her desk. 4 sentences, typed, no name. She thought about what Elena had done. She thought about it the way you consider a decision with no clean path, where every available option led somewhere that still cost something. A 16-year-old had asked what would happen if she told the truth. The honest, procedurally correct answer was that the authorities would be contacted, her stepfather would be informed, and Jade would be expected to speak freely in the presence of a man she was afraid of, in a house where speaking freely had already failed her once. Elena had known that. She had made a different calculation. Dana did not know if it had been right. She also could not say it had been wrong. She put the anonymous tip in the locked cabinet in the corner of her office. She did not shred it. She did not forward it. She left it where things go when no one is supposed to find them easily. Elena never learned who had sent the tip. Dana chose not to tell her. She decided that knowing would not help Elena, and might change the way she moved through the world in ways that weren't worth the cost. 8 months later, on a Tuesday in March, a letter arrived at the school addressed to Elena Marsh. No return address. The handwriting was small and deliberate. The postmark was from a city 3 states away. Elena took the letter to her car at the end of the school day. She could tell from the weight of it that she should not read it inside. She sat in the parking lot with the engine off. Another teacher walked past and glanced through the windshield and kept moving. The letter said that Jade was well. That she was finishing a degree she had started and stopped twice before. That she had a dog, an apartment with a real kitchen, and a job she didn't hate going to. That she had wanted to write for years and hadn't known where to begin. That she was beginning now, and this was the first letter. That she didn't expect anything back. That she just wanted Elena to know. Elena drove home. She made dinner. She set the letter on the kitchen table and left it there for 3 days, in the same spot, and every time she walked past it she had the same thought. She's fine. She made it. She's going to be fine. On the 4th day she moved it somewhere she wouldn't lose it. She never told anyone what it said.